Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. Tuesday night, so it's NRL edition. It's our final one before we actually crack off with our live shows, which we are really, really excited about. Keen as to bring that to you guys and actually get to communicate with you more, interact. Obviously, you get to watch it on Facebook and YouTube, so make sure if you haven't already, subscribe so you get the notifications on a Tuesday night that we are going live. We haven't full on locked in the time, but going off how we start these ones is going to be 8 p.m. Queensland time, 9 p.m. for New South Wales time, and roughly be about an hour or so episode each and every week, depending on how involved you guys get. So more questions that come through, the busier we get, but more so keen to get back into the live shows and interact with all you, the followers, especially after the huge growth we've had this off season. So very, very keen indeed. Tonight's episode, it's been one that we have put off, and now it's time to go. It's our 2025 NRL Ladder Predictions. Really keen to obviously put ourselves out there, get absolutely drilled in the comments, no doubt about that. But that's the joy of podcasting. We put ourselves out there, and it's our opinions. Let me just say that now. You're welcome to have your opinions as well, and we always encourage it. But with the feedback, please be respectful. That's all I ask for. I have noticed lately as we grow and grow and grow, there has been a few more, I guess, comments that want to have more personal digs and not fall that here. So we won't be replying to those. We reply to pretty much most comments we can get to, but please be respectful. That's all we ask for. We're happy to talk to you until we're blue in the face, just as long as there is respect there. That is all I ask for.
Hey, Joel.
Yes?
Someone has to finish first and someone has to finish last. It's as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And none of us want it to be our team, but there has to be somebody.
Now, and I will pre-say this by saying I do genuinely believe this could be the closest competition we've ever seen. Like, I do genuinely believe 17th through to like 7th are really, really close. And it's going to be like an injury or two that could separate any of those teams who look like they could finish 7th and then all of a sudden they're finishing last. So I think it's a really close ladder in terms of that, and we'll go into that a bit more. So we've all done our own ladder predictions tonight, so we'll go Jake first, Trav, and then myself. Heads up, Jake is actually doing his draft, League of Inches draft tonight, live on air. He's that keen for this episode. I gave him the chance to sit this one out. I said draft is more important. It's all good. You got to set that up. No, he jumped and he goes, no, I want to do this one. So he wants to put himself out there to you guys, give his thoughts, and then get the feedback as well. So we really appreciate that. If you see him not fully involved here, looking down a lot, it's because he's probably his picks up, and we have been promised by him he will let us know his picks live on air. I believe
that face makes me think he's on not far away.
Yeah,
Ooh,
not
on the
far
clock.
away.
He's on the clock.
Dylan Brown, welcome to the team.
Oh, is he round 2?
In your second
round 2 pick, didn't get taken. Round 2, Dylan Brown is in the squad.
That's a great pick. So you've got Dylan Edwards fullback now, round 1.
Dylan Edwards, Dylan Brown back.
And
squad full of Dylans.
5'8" and halfback. That's crucial. That's huge. He's a very big draftee pick at the moment with that duel. So love that pick for you. But anyway, that's basically, I think I've done all I need to do to introduce the show and get things going. Trav, we had our draft. When was that? When was it? Bloody
Sunday.
The Sunday night.
2
That's right.
Ago.
How you feeling post that?
Mate, my team's stacked. I'm loving it. Very, very happy. But what I do have to say is Jake's a much better man than we are, because there was no way I was doing a podcast, which I actually had the option to, or do a draft. No, I was focused. I can only do the one thing, the draft. Drafts are stressful enough.
Yep, I do agree. Jake,
Jake's
just
a
wait
better
a
man.
quick second to think. How's things? How are you for the week? And you're under the pump.
Yeah, no, very good. Very good. I keep wanting to look down at my phone. There's 11 picks left, but I'm still like wanting to look down at my phone. No, it's been a very good week. I've been looking forward to this the most. I've been very excited for this draft. So I'm here. It's happening. It's good. Life is good.
I thought you meant the show, but that's all right. Just quickly,
I am also excited for the show.
While I remember that, while looking at the shirts and how good we do look in these, the comp that we were running from last week, I completely forgot just in Footy Zone on the weekend watching all the trials. That's been extended for one more week. So this Friday night is when it will shut off to win yourself a bit of League of Inches merch. Obviously, just one of those tag some mates, follow us, Sava Sports as well. and you'll be able to go in the draw to win yourself a couple of League of Inches shirts. So make sure you go ahead. Got a few days now. Tag as many friends as you want. Every tag is an entry. Please, great value. Go ahead and become a bit more involved with the League of Inches family. And shout out to our Legends group. It's ticked over 40 now. So I think they're 9 members away from that 50 mark, which we've continued to say. Once it hits 50, I will be buying one lucky Legend member a club polo of their choice. So, and looking at a lot of the merch this year, as we've said a few weeks ago, so many clubs have killed their merch this year. I'm sure a lot of people in that group would love to have their own polo. So for $2.99 a month, you can get yourself a $70 or $80 club polo. Great value, in my opinion. Let's crack into it, Jake. How far away are you for your picks? I'll try and help you out here.
7 picks at the moment, so I've got a little bit of time.
All right, let's get to you, and let's get you to try and pump through your team, your ladder first. Go 17th up, even though on YouTube,
Righto.
you'll be able to watch this and you'll be able to see his team straight away. But for the podcast listeners, go 17th through to 1. If you are getting close to your pick, just let us know. Put a finger in the air or something, and then me and Trav will start to talk about wherever you got to.
I will. I'll let you know. All right, 6 away for now. So 17th, I've got the Knights. And like Trav said earlier, a team has to come last. 5 picked. And then we've got 16th, I've got Dragons. In 15th place, we have the Cowboys. 14th place, we have the Warriors. I just don't see them doing much better than last year, to be honest. If anything, the trial's not being important, but the Titans put themselves in that spot because I had them a little higher earlier before the trial, and they put themselves down a little bit in my eyes. Roosters have lost too many people. They looked very good in the trial. No Bennett, obviously, so I've got him in 11th. Raiders looked good in the trial before they took all their players off, so 10th. 3 picks left, just so you boys know. In the 9th, I have the West Tigers. I see a massive improvement from them this year. That would depend on what happens with their halves, but I think that they'll be okay. 7th, I'm being very optimistic in saying the Eels. 2 picks, boys. I'm being very optimistic in saying the Eels. I think that and things like that and what Riles might be able to bring. 6th, I have the Seagulls. 5th, I have the Bulldogs. 4th, I have the Sharks. 1 pick away, boys. 3rd, I have the Broncos. 2nd, I have the Panthers. And in number 1 at the end of the year, I think will be the Storm.
All right, go get ready for your pick, mate. We'll have a quick discussion here. I'll tell you, I don't think your internet likes you playing Supercoach and podcasting at the same time. There's a little bit of laggy going on, but that's okay. Trav, we look at Jake's straight away, and let me just pre-warn everyone as well. We do not know. I do because I had to put these together, but we didn't talk about our predictions at all. We don't know what everyone has chosen. We didn't toss around ideas, and so whatever we end up doing, completely unknown to each other. Jake's obviously a huge Eels fan. We all know that, so that might be, and he sort of mentioned it by himself there, that might be a little bit of heart before head, perhaps. We're not too sure there. My big one is the Tigers. I want to ask you about the Tigers, Jake, and I think a lot of people out there have them improving, no doubt, but back to their favourite spot of 9th. I don't know if you're trying to have a little bit of a kick in the nuts to the Tigers fans there with that pick, or that's a huge improvement from 3 in a row wooden spooners to 9th.
It is a huge improvement, but you know what? They've got a huge amount of more talent and skill in the side. And not only talent and skill, actually, they've got a huge amount more players with drive is what I think they've got. And I think that's a big thing of what they've been missing is that, that here, I'll take it from here. Let's just go, like, get up the field, that type of thing. And like your Terrell May, obviously your skill side of thing and just your competitiveness comes from Jerome Luai. And I think that those players specifically, and plus others that have come in, are going to make a massive difference to their training and their stuff outside of the being on the footy field as well as being on the footy field. And you know what? I have no reason why. I almost thought about sniffing them into the 8th, but you know what? I went, no, they're gonna come this close and they're gonna get 9th, and it's gonna be back to everyone going, oh, haha, Tigers can only ever come 9th. And I think that's what's gonna happen.
I'll let Trav go next. Just quickly, have you had your 3rd pick yet?
I have had my 3rd pick, and I had to go very far down, and I don't know why I did this, but I've done it. Cody Walker. because I needed a halfback before anyone got snatched up. There was not any left. I needed a half. It's not my
Really?
best pick, but I needed.
They won on a big 5-8 run, did they?
Was that?
Did they go on a big 5/8 run?
Who?
To have
yeah.
Cody Walker.
No, there was no half because I put Dill in half 5/8, so I needed a halfback. I put Dill bags in 5/8, so I didn't. There was no halfbacks all the way down to Cody Walker, so I had to just. I figured I had to get that position sorted in early. So I've gone for him. I'm in 3 picks, but yeah,
three in your line positions.
I have. I've tried to go heavy on the positions that are very important.
Trav, look at the ladder. What are your thoughts around this? Anything you want to ask?
Yeah, so there's a few actually. Thoughts on, well, based off this, you've got the Cowboys having an enormous slip from 5th, wasn't it, to 15th. That's 10 drops, 10 spot drops. So that's a really interesting point. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, good question. That's a great question there. You know what? Thinking back on it, maybe I probably put them a little lower than I am kind of realizing now. I am on the clock, but I already know who I'm going to grab, so I'm just going to grab him real quick.
Oh, live pick.
Hooker. Did you go a hooker this time?
I like the Julies. So I'm trying to get a few. I'm trying to get a few Julies and make sure that I have a bit of coverage around the field. So that's my kind of plan here. Hopefully, if he doesn't get taken, but he will. My next is Barnett, but I think he's going to get taken.
Did you just take then? Didn't you say you were on the clock?
Yeah. Yeah, I just had a pick. I just picked Connor Watson. So my current team is Connor Watson in hooker, Cody Walker in 5/8, halfback, Dylan Brown in 5/8, and then Dylan Edwards at fullback.
Good start.
Yeah, the Cowboys, man.
Yeah, sorry, it's cutting in and out. Yeah, look, maybe I've dropped them a little lower than possibly I thought. I suppose that maybe I'm looking back at it, I'm a little bit like, okay, maybe they're a little lower than they probably should be. They have a brand new halfback coming in, and he's sort of happening. They lost Val Holmes, and that's my biggest thing. Am I lagging pretty bad? Am I?
Yeah.
My biggest issue, I suppose, with that team is their strike was mostly Val Holmes last year. And he's out, and that's a big reason. And their defense just has not impressed me last year. So without the ability to score those tries, I'm just not impressed with them. To be honest, I think they drop.
Yeah.
And is it really only your heart picking the Eels to make the finals?
No, it's not. It's not only my heart. To be honest with you, if I'm being completely honest, I really do see a lot of improvement in this. Like, not. The biggest thing I think is we're kind of replicating the Bulldogs a little bit in what they did recently to be able to succeed, in the sense of like having a smaller, more versatile pack. And you know what? Everyone gave them crap about it, but you know what? It worked out really well for them, and they did very well with that. I think that so far, everything I've seen from and heard from the camp since Riles has got there has me impressed. And I think that, honestly, 2023... we only missed out on realistically, we were on a bit of a run, but before Dylan Brown did what he did, we should have made the finals then. Last year, yes, we were in poor form, but we also were, and I know other teams were, but we also were missing Moses for most of the year. If he's back, there's no reason why we can't. We don't have that different. Like, we have a different side, and we have, if anything, a faster side. So it's only going to suit him more.
Fair. One last one from me. I want to go for the opposite end of the table. I want to just quickly ask you about the Broncos. Obviously, you got them there in 3rd. You're under the belief Madge's era will kick off with a flying start.
Yeah, I'm hugely under that belief. I really am, because you know what? I think they're a team, like I said, I think he's going to get the Hollywood out of them, and he's going to get the hard work into them, and they're a squad that can win this competition. They are a squad that can absolutely do incredible things in this competition. They could win it for sure. Like, there's no reason why not. And I think that Madge is going to bring that out of them, in the sense that he's just going to hopefully put a bit of mongrel in them, in that belief of, like, we can win this, but we just need to, not act like tools. Like, let's just put a bit of hard work in and get the job done, and they can definitely win a comp. I really think that's why I've got them so high. I think last year they underperformed massively.
Yeah. Oh, that's it for me. I don't want to go too far because we've got lots of ladders to do. So I don't want to go all the talking points so far. And I want you to focus on your draft, and your internet is not great. While you can't do your internet, we've realised, can't do two things at once. So it's obviously a male.
Guys, I don't want to ruin the quality. So I'll jump out. I don't want to ruin the quality of it. Yeah, righto. Cheers for that, boys.
No worries. Enjoy. Go and let us know who you pick in the end as well. Might give the viewers a live update towards the end of the podcast. So
yeah, I'll shoot you some message every time.
Cheers, mate. His internet is absolutely shocking. He cannot do anything. All right, Trav, we're back. Here we go. So apologies about that, guys. We just I know he was very keen, Jake, to come on, give you that. So I really do appreciate that. Just apologies about the quality there. Lacking a little bit. But for those on the podcast, because it did actually go in and out a little bit, I'll just quickly run through his order one more time in case you did miss it. So 17th was the Knights, 16th Dragons, 15th Cowboys, 14th Warriors, 13th Titans, 12th Roosters, 11th Dolphins, 10th Raiders, 9th the Tigers. Then the top 8 is 8th the Rabbitohs, 7th the Eels, 6th Manly, 5th the Bulldogs, 4th the Sharkies, 3rd the Broncos, 2nd the Panthers, and 1st the Melbourne Storm. So let us know what you think of Jake's one, and also his live on-air draft picks. If you're a draft player, I would not be liking that situation at all. So again, we appreciate what you did, Jakey boy, and he'll be back next week without the draft. Actually, no, Sunday with myself, and we're doing the review of the 3rd week of trials. Trav, talk to us. Here is your serious ladder prediction. That's a little inside joke, by the way.
Serious. Yeah, so 17th I went the Dragons. I mean, everyone can see it there, I guess. Do you want me just to talk about what it is, or just run through it?
Yeah, explain a couple, because it's just us two now. So yeah, explain a little bit about your picks as we go.
So I went 17th with the Dragons. Just think, whilst I think there's improvement in that team, I don't see how those halves in Ilias and Flanagan can lead that group. I think Gutho's going to make a big difference in terms of culture, and he already has. I think Cook's going to make a big difference in terms of culture and leadership. But I just don't think there's enough talent on the park and enough young talent to survive a 27-round season. And unfortunately, someone has to on the bottom, and that's the Dragons. I do rate Flanagan as a coach and think he's one of the better coaches, if not probably, if I was to rank him, I'd say top 5 in the competition. But I just don't see enough to finish anywhere other than 17th. The Knights I found really difficult to put here. This is literally just the Ponga effect, and I think the Ponga effect can have them from anywhere from finals to the last. Ponga is just that good, and that's how much I rate him. I do think that, unfortunately, Ponga's, and we're playing, the crystal ball here, but I think Ponga's, some sort of injury will affect him. That's just the way, unfortunately, it has for him in his career. I just don't think there's enough talent on that list to manage a Ponga injury, or even just trying to manage the outs through Origin, which I think are key problems. I think the nightmare issue of Adam O'Brien is a nightmare. I reckon there's an organisation and an admin team over there at the Knights that are dreading the fact that they set up a contract last year that allowed them to have a certain amount of wins. He was there because I reckon if he didn't, they would much rather him not be there. But that's going to be a pain in the ass situation for him. So I just think that's going to cut him out. So unfortunately, I've got them 16th. But yeah, there's an asterisk beside that, because I think if Ponga does stay healthy, I think he can save AOB's career and could be anywhere from finals to there. So I've got an asterisk next to that one, but I'm making a prediction that's where it is. I'm very different to what Jake was saying about the Eels, and absolutely agree with what he's talking about in terms of the improvement and how close they were in 2023 to obviously the dismal year that happened last year. But I think the loss of Gutho as a leadership way, it hurt. I think Gutho did so much more than just be a fullback for them. He was the one that was in the ref's ear. He was the one that was at training. He was the one that, even though he was injured, he lifted up and kept playing. He was the coach on the field. Like, there was so much. And I just think that's a big loss. And I can't see the leadership from Dill Brown. And I really feel Dill Brown's on the way out. So I think Dill Brown's playing a contract here. So he'll play well. But I just think that leadership from him. Obviously, you got Hopgood coming back. There's all raving about Oyongi, but he's still only played one game. He's not going to change that club in terms of winning enough games to fix anywhere or to be anything other than where they are. I think the Eels are going to have improvements, and there's going to be definitely games where they will beat a top 4 team. They will beat a few top 8 teams, I think, but they'll also have some poor games, which is why they're sort of down the bottom. Titans, I had a lot higher. I think in the review I said I had them higher, and then I watched them on the weekend and went, oh. I'm lost for words for the Titans, to be honest. I don't have a lot of words for them, and that's not great for a podcast, but I just don't have the comments for where it is. And I just think they're mediocre, and I think they showed it, although, what happened on the weekend is what happened on the weekend. It's the first round of trials, and they've got to bye week 1. So I get it, but I don't know what they're doing. I just don't know what they're doing. And that's unusual for me to say. And I think that's what everyone should be worried about with Desi Hasler. If you're a Titans fan, I just don't know what you should be doing. I just don't know what you should be thinking, because that's I think that club's in a bit of shambles. And which is silly to say, because there's some freaking good talent on that list. Like, you go through that list and there's some there's half a dozen dudes I'd gladly have at the store. So, the Tigers, I think, are improvement. I put them at 13. I think that's clearly and obviously better than bottom of the ladder. And I think they'll be sitting at anywhere from that sort of mid to top of the bottom half of the draw. I think 13th is a really good improvement. I think they'll win a few games. As I said, they'll also push some of the top 8 teams, but they'll also have some stinkers. I don't think there's enough leadership there, and I think there's a few clashes at this point in time, and I think it's still early days for that leadership to fix it. So I've got them there. The Raiders, I just like their list. I like their youth. I like the way that they want to play. So I've got them in 12th. I just like everything about that. I think Tarpany is just a superstar. So I think leadership-wise, he's ready to go, and they've got some good dudes coming through and big talent. Warriors, again, I like their list too. Obviously the loss of AFB, but I just think as big as AFB was a loss, I'd actually prefer James Fisher-Harris. So, and to me, AFB is the best front rower in the competition, and that's a huge, huge loss, literally speaking, and teams and list speaking. But yeah, I just much prefer James Fisher-Harris. I think this also frees up with the retirement of Tohu Harris, frees up a bit more with Barnett. So I think he sort of takes it another level. They've still got Capewell. You've still got RTS, still got Chans, Tuapicki's on the wings, or in the wings, sorry, literally, and on the reserves. There's a few things I like about the Warriors. So I think they're in that road. Unfortunately, the Roosters have got a big slide. I don't think they're a finals team, but I don't think they're a bad team. So I think they'll be in middle of the road if I look at their list. So I've got them sitting at 10th. I've actually got the Cowboys falling out of the 8th from 5th to 9th. But I think they're still going to score enough points, even with the loss of Holmes, who was their kicker, try scorer, all sorts of things, plus Felt. I think even with that, they've replaced enough to keep the Cowboys in at 9th. So they're still going to score points. The advantage of being up in Townsville for their home games is huge. So they're going to win enough games to be thereabouts. So I've got them in 9th. I think the Rabbitohs This is simply just the Wayne Bennett effect. And by all reports, and obviously as it should be in a preseason, everyone's been in the gym, everyone's raring to go, everyone's positive. You have a look at the pictures, like Kulamatungi's slimmed up and he looks fit. Cam Murray, even with the injury, he looks fit. Like, have a look at Mitchell. He looks fit. I think even with Cody Walker's potential injury, like Graham's coming back, I think they're going to be okay. Latrell Mitchell is just that good. So I think they're about 8th. I like what the Broncos can provide, and I've got them in at 7th. But I could literally put the Broncos anywhere from 3rd to 7th, and I could even see them falling behind. But I just think there's huge improvement. That list is just unreal. I think there are a couple of injuries away from having problems, but if not, then that's where I've got them at 7th. I think the Dolphins, I've really liked the Dolphins this year. I really like them. I like the list. I just think everything's ready to go. They're sort of over that second year hump that everyone kind of talks about. They have a good first year, which, let's be honest, the Dolphins had a good first year for a club that's literally was made a couple of years beforehand. I thought they had a really good year. They picked up no stars in that first year, did what they did, improved so much and did what they did last year. Bennett leaves halfway through the year. Let's be serious. He left, even though he was officially their coach. We know he left. And they still were pretty competitive and still did what they did. I think the Fuller injury is a big thing as to where I've got them in 6th. I actually probably would have had Dolphins maybe even in the top 4 if Fuller was playing. I really rate Fuller and what he would have been able to do through that list, and then putting Hammer into the centers, I think would be better for them. But I still think they're that good that they're in 6th. The Sea Eagles are the Sea Eagles, hey? Like that again. Like that's just across a common thing I've said across almost every team is their list is good, right? The Sea Eagles list is good. Every bloody list is pretty good. But that's a really good list. I think, unfortunately, the Sea Eagles have problems where they don't turn up sometimes. And that's the games that they end up losing. And I think that's why they're not the top upper echelon. But based off talent and leadership, I really like them. I've got the Panthers falling to 4th. But that's only because I think, obviously, I really like the Panthers and I like what they've got. Obviously, you've got Cleary, you've got Yo. I think Papali'i is going to help coming in. I think by halfway through the year, Talangi is going to make a big difference. But I've still got them in top 4, but I've got them dropping down. I still think that they'll probably be pretty close to the grand final. So I don't think that's a bad thing being in 4th. But I've got them falling to 4th, but solely and only because I think the Storm are the best team in the competition. So I've got them at 1st. I just think there's improvement in the Sharks. I think AFB's made a big difference. And is going to make a big difference and free up that whole team. So I've actually put them in 2nd. And I just think natural progression and improvement is the Bulldogs will push. They should have been top 4 last year. They died in the end. And they've got, improvement across the board. I just have them coming into 3rd. So, that's sort of my quick rundown of my ladder prediction.
All righty. Tell you what, that was nicer to sit there and listen to that for a while. I'm sure the voice box is hurting after that one. I've got probably two questions or 2 talking points to talk to you about straight away. Dolphins for one, because there's not many out there that are so high on the Dolphins as I think a few people on this podcast have been throughout the last couple of weeks, like Jesse, yourself. 6th. So finals football, their first time playing finals football, which will be huge for the club. Any concerns around the halves? Because if you look at it on paper, I don't believe they're up there in the top halves connections at all or halves pairings. Is that a concern? Because I think if you go through the history of finals teams, majority of them, I'm going to go out there and say 90% have good halves.
Tell me how many teams have good halves
in the comp?
Yeah,
about 8.
It is what it is, right? But let's be honest, hey. Like, Isaiah Katoa is a freak. Like, they all started somewhere, eh? Like they all started as rookies. The Storm are good halves, and Cam Munster and Jerome Hughes is not playing, and that's not where they started. The Sharks are Hines and Trindle. Well, Hines is a natural fullback. Like, you've got to go through these lists and go, So at the end of the day, they've got Isaiah Katoa. Do I have concerns? That's probably the biggest deficiency they've got in their list. I think they've got depth. I think they've got guys coming back from injury. I think they've recruited well this year. I think the fact is that they can lose to someone who came on and did such a good job in Fuller last year and are able to just be able to go, we'll just put Hammer back. What a luxury that is. So I'm not fussed by that. I'm not fussed by their halves. I think Nick is pretty good. He's definitely not your worst. I think Isaiah Katoa is going to be, by the end of his career, sit in probably at minimum top 5 of the best halves in the competition for at least 2 to 3 years of his career, if not top 3 at some point in his career. So he's only ascending in terms of his talent, and this is the year that he's going to, and I think he flies off the back of his international play last year. So to me, to answer the question, do I have concerns? No. Is it a deficiency in their team? I'd say it is, but it's not a bad one.
Just on the Bulldogs, there's people out there starting to worry a little bit about the Bulldogs, saying they might slip. Last year was a one-off in a way, but I know you've been massive on them, especially from the defensive side of things, and you anticipate that to improve. I'm guessing that is the big reason why you see them rising up the ladder to a top 4 berth.
Yeah, so exactly right. I think their defense is going to stay. Yeah, okay, everyone's been able to have a whole preseason and go, here's who the Bulldogs are, and this is what they did, so this is how we can set up for it. I think Serraldo and that whole team is going to sit there and go, they all know what we're doing, so we need to improve, right? So what's the best way to improve? Well, we need to put more points on the board. So their attack's going to get better. So I think their defense is at worst going to be pretty much the same, maybe slightly less than what they had, because people are going to suss them out from what they did in 2024. But I think the improvement comes in their offensive side of things. You have a look across the board, like there's players in almost every position that are massively ascending and on the uprise of talent. They've got there's talk around Carraz in the last 24 hours around having indefinitely being out and what that might mean. I saw an article just a couple of hours ago that said that basically said that indefinite tag is rubbish and that it's more than likely only going to be 1 week. So we don't know, but either way, Carraz is that good that when he does come back, he's going to be fine. So if he does miss 2 to 3 weeks, and so be it. That sucks for my draft that I did on Sunday. I picked him up in the 3rd round. It is what it is. I just think, again, they're such a young team. Another preseason, they've just lost. It was a tough loss. But it was a learning experience, and they needed to have that. And there's a whole lot of, they went into a preseason going, where did it go wrong? Well, it went wrong at about round 25. How do we fix that? We have a big preseason. Yeah. And that's what they've just been able to step into.
No, I agree for sure. Just an update. Jake has sent through a couple of his picks. I think he's up to round 8, I believe. So I'll go over his team for you. So he's got Dill Edwards. This is in order of picks as well. Dill Edwards, Dylan Brown, Cody Walker, Connor Watson, RTS, Cam McInnes, Connor Tracy, Lehigh Hopewati, and Ruben Cotter. So he told us before he went off, he's big on the jewels. He's got a lot of jewels there, which is very handy in draft. That definitely does help. I'm not paying out any of these picks whatsoever. I think he's got a plan in place. He's sticking with it. And I respect that. I love those that go into draft with a plan and he's holding on to it. So that is great to see. So that's 9 picks, I believe, so far. So who knows? He might get his draft finished by the time we're off air. So we will see where we're going. But so far, so good, Jakey boy. So keep it up, mate. You're doing good things. I'll go to mine. We actually do have questions again tonight. So I'll go to mine now. I don't know how you did that, Trav. I reckon this voice box is going to hurt after this, but here we go. 17th. Again, we did not talk about any of this before we did.
Teacher voice,
this.
mate.
Yeah, good. 17th, the Newcastle Knights. I've been big on them basically since we've started talking about 2025 season, finishing last. Obviously, that's everyone in comments. I know I've looked at them, I've read them, I've replied to a few. Oh, they've finished in the top 8 the last 3 or 4 years, things like that, 4 out of 5, and they can't slide that much. As I said at the start of this podcast, I genuinely believe when I was doing mine, any team between 17th to 7th, and those on YouTube can already see who those teams are that I'm talking about, you could honestly shuffle all those up and have valid arguments why any of those teams finished last at some point in this year, I believe. So I found it really hard. And again, there's arguments why for the Knights, if Ponga can go on one of his huge runs that we've seen before, I would not be surprised if they're in the fight for finals football come that time of year. But I just believe, and I've been big on this in this offseason, Adam O'Brien, I believe, is on the chopping block. I know he's just signed an extension and things like that. I think the Knights are absolutely crazy for doing so. And I just believe, from my own opinion and why I'm so big on that, I have to go them in 17th. 16th, I've got the Gold Coast Titans. Maybe on the weekend help me select this, but at the same time, I'm over giving them credit and them failing every time, every year, and trying to give reasons why I believe they're going to make the 8 or in the fight. I'm not going to do it this year. I'm just going to say and come out and just be like, I don't believe they're as a club ready to play finals football. Then they've got it in majority of their playing group, and that's just going to continue to impact that playing group. I think it's at the point now they actually need a bit of a big reshuffle in that whole playing roster and start getting some footy players there. And I just believe it's going to be another one of those years where we continue to sit there and go, how is this team coming last? Or how's this team coming second last? And another one of those years for the Gold Coast Titans. 15th, the Cowboys. I'm with Jake there. I believe there's a massive drop coming because, again, I've said I think Todd Payton's on the chopping block, one of the coaches under a lot of pressure. And I just believe that with that will come a poor season. I also have this weird feeling about the Cowboys this year. I just think they're going to cop big injury toll. I just feel like maybe one or two of their big name players might go down. And I obviously do not wish that upon anyone whatsoever. I just get this weird feeling about the Cowboys. So and a heads up, I'm always wrong about the Cowboys. Every year, whatever I predict, they do the opposite. So go and load up on them finishing top 4, I believe, because I've got them bottom 4.
maybe not top 4, but yeah.
At least top 8. Just gamble responsibly, please. 14th, the West Tigers. I do believe they'll improve. I think their bigger year is next year when they just get maybe 1 or 2 more players. I just think this year's a big building block for them. They'll be a lot more competitive. There won't be anywhere near as many blowout scores. I just believe for now they're just not quite there in terms of a top 8 team. I think they've got a lot to improve and learn. You can't quickly go from 3 years in a row of last straight into a top 8 team, in my opinion. But I think they're right there about that sort of anywhere between 11th to about that 14th mark. 13th, the Dragons. I originally, when I started to do this, I had them down to 16th, but actually the more and more I think about the Dragons, the more and more I'm liking the little things about them. And I feel like they're just going to be one of those annoying teams that just stay in a lot of fights. They'll pick up a few wins here and there. Flanagan, I think, is a great coach. I think the Dragons have done a great job in getting him. And it seems like he is building. He's got a plan in place. He's getting some senior sort of players in, which I think in the long run, we've all said it, we're questioning. But for now, good recruitment. And I think they'll be in and around that sort of area. 12th, the Warriors. I'm a little bit concerned on those losses. Obviously, SJ, Tohu, and AFB going to the Sharks. I know JFH is huge, and it just feels weird saying a team with James Fisher-Harris in it would not feature in the top 8. That's the struggle for me. I just continue to try and find ways to put them in my 8, but I end up just thinking, even though I like a lot of their young players, again, similar to maybe the Tigers, I think there might be just that one more year building as a squad. A lot of these will become established first graders by the end of this year and ready to crack into things for next year. I think they'll be a very exciting team to watch. I think I said it in the preview we did for them that I think they'll have games where they'll beat some of these top 4, top 5 teams. We go, what a team this is. And then there'll be some other weeks where they just sort of clock off against a Titans or a Knights, things like that. 11th, the Dolphins. I am feeling this little big sort of hype that Trav is building around the Dolphins. I'm starting to feel it. I'm just a bit concerned with their halves. I can't go past that. And that is the only reason I don't have them in my 8. If I had a bit more confidence in their halves, I would have had them probably 8. And I would have moved the 8th place team down. 10th, the Canberra Raiders. I said it last week. I've said it a couple of times now. I just feel like they're going to be that team that is literally just in and around this middle of the table the whole year, just right there within a win or two of the top 8 at all time, if not sitting in the top 8, and just be that really in-your-face team. They're in the dogfight each and every week. And I can see them in and around that 10th mark. 9th, the Sydney Roosters. Even though they've lost a lot of players, if they can somehow remain as healthy as possible, they've already lost 2 players for the majority of this year, they've still got a decent roster. So I'm thinking they might drop a few early, but once Sam Walker comes back mid-year, he might not be fantastic. He'll have a bit of confidence issues and stuff like that. They might be able to get a few more wins in the back end, go on a small little run. But I think they'll be missing finals football this year. I just can't see them with some of those players still, like your Tedesco's, your Connor Watsons, the list can go, the Victor Radleys, those sorts of players, and the coach, obviously Trent Robinson. Right. I just can't see them going any further down. I just can't picture it. But I hope they do in a way, because I'd love to give it to Jesse all year. But anyway, that's something in itself. 8th, I'll go on the Eels. A little bit of heart there, but also just because I've obviously been involved with the club a little bit now with this SGA thing, I have seen and heard and watched a lot of the things happen that I personally bagged the club out a lot and was very boisterous about last year. They have changed a lot. The identity of the club has completely changed, and I really am excited about the depth. I think depth was a huge issue last year for the Eels, and I think they've changed that dramatically. So even if they're like the Moses does go down, and that's a huge blow, I think we're way better placed this year to fix that than last year, purely off the fact we've got a coach who's happy to play some of these other players and give them a chance, where we had one last year who was very set in his ways and would just play his favourites out of position, which completely destroyed the dynamics of the team. 7th, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I think the Wayne era does help them play finals football once again. I'm not as big on them as some. I've heard a lot of people out there say they're like a top 4 team. I don't believe that yet. I still think there's a couple of issues, especially up front with their squad. So I can't put them in that top 4 team, but I think they'll be playing finals football and be a danger on their day to pretty much any team. They'll still have that great attack that we're used to, especially if you get Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell on their day going out wide to Munro, who's an absolute freak in the speedster in himself. 6th, I've got the Canterbury Bulldogs. I believe the hype, I don't know if they're necessarily the top 4 team. I do think there might be just that little I'm not even going to say they're going to get backwards. I just think they're going to stay similar to what they had this last year, and that's that solid defensive unit. They'll get enough wins, in my opinion, to make finals football, no doubt about that. And I just think that from 6 up, I think are all locks to play finals football this year, more so maybe just about changing their positions slightly. 5th, the Brisbane Broncos. I've really... the Madge era, they looked so fit on the weekend. And again, it's only a trial. Can't read too much into it. But even with their training shots and things like that, a lot of the players look fit. They look serious. They look down to business. And I just believe this Madge era, at least for 1 year, he can get the players to buy in. I'm probably worried more so in the years to come how that unfolds. But for this year, I think it's a short enough time frame for the Broncos to actually buy into Madge, do as they're told, basically. And they'll actually win a lot more games on the field. Again, that Suncorp home stadium that they almost feel like get to play out every week will be a huge benefit to that once they get a few wins and the fans come flocking back. 4, the Manly Sea Eagles. I am so big on the Manly Sea Eagles this year. I really am. I think they are massive smokers for this competition. I think on their day, they can beat literally anyone. We've seen that last few years they've been able to beat the Storm, the Panthers. Yet majority of those have been at home. They can't play obviously every single final at home, but that's something we'll talk about when we get there. But ladder prediction, general in-season footy, I think they're top 4. Again, I said it on Sunday. I think they're the best place they've ever been to replace Turbo if he does go down. Leo Hopewadi is a freak. Garrick's there. He can fill in Cooler as well. I think they're really ready to rip and tear into this competition. The Sharkies, that AFB signing is absolutely huge for that club. I still worry a little bit about their halves and how this makeup's going to pair up and how it's going to unfold. I think on the weekend we've seen Trindle though do a lot more and step up a lot. So I feel like even though the numbers on the back might stay the same, it might be Hines with that 7. I just don't think he'll play, and I think that's the best dynamic for that team. If he starts to play more of a 7, I'm slightly worried because I just think history shows he can't quite handle it. But we'll see what happens throughout the season. But I think that roster, that depth, it's all for mine pointing top 4 certainties for the Sharkies, and they should really be in this competition in the thick of things. Second, got the Penrith Panthers. I just can't see him going down. It seems so weird to say that because they're losing James Fisher-Harris. They're losing Luai. They're losing one of their big meter-eater wingers. You talk about these sorts of players they're losing, and you just think to yourself, any other team, they're gone. Like the Roosters, they've lost a lot of their quality players in one hit, and we're going, yeah, finals are done. Penrith, no, they'll be there. They'll do their thing. Cleary and Yo will step up. Edwards will do some fancy things at the back. Just can see him right there where it counts. And unfortunately, first place is the Melbourne Storm. I do think it should come with an asterisk because I think they'll get busted towards the end of the year. They'll get all their points deducted and off they go down to maybe 17th. So I think everyone else will go up a position. Now I'm only having a little bite back there. I needed to have one at Trav. He's been getting into me lately about these Eels, but I just think the Storm. You look at their roster, you look at their depth. That's one big thing I looked at a lot in this ladder is depth. I think that's huge this year, and the Storms is crazy. It's completely scary. It's not a team that you want to verse at any point of the year anymore. A lot of people used to say, oh, yeah, get him at Origin time. It's all good. No, I don't care what time of year you get the Storm anymore. You'll have to have verse Wishart, Fa'alongo, Pezzett. No, I don't care what time of year you're versing this outfit. I think they're a realistic chance of literally going the season, maybe 1 or 2 losses. I think that's right up there to go one of those record-breaking years for the Storm. But, that was a lot. Trav?
Do you really want questions? Like you just spoke a lot.
Yeah, I don't really need one, I don't think.
No. Look, I guess for me, the two glaring points to make here or to ask around an explanation is you've got the Cowboys dropping, just like I asked Jake, 10 spots, 5th to 15th. Yeah. And then the Rabbitohs coming from where they were right up to 7th. Now, obviously, I have the Rabbitohs in the 8 too, but you've got them come only to 7th. So there's probably a couple of points that I've got there that have the most shuffle.
Yeah. For the Cowboys, for mine, there's just something about them this year I just don't feel right about. As I said, and I don't want to wish it upon anyone, I'm just getting this weird feeling that they've already lost Lukey for the year, basically. And I feel like that might be the start, unfortunately, of their season. And Tamalolo's out for a couple of weeks as well before the balls even kick. So I'm just starting to get this weird vibe about the Cowboys this year. There's maybe 1 or 2 more big injuries to come. And in my opinion, if they do lose either Dearden or Drinkwater for a period of time, I don't think they've got enough quality now that Val Holmes isn't there and Kyle Felt's not there scoring his 20-odd tries that you can almost guarantee every season he plays. I just think they might be lacking. I think there's a lot of great young talent there that I'm really, really excited about. And we've said it and spoken about it on the podcast a number of times. Again, like a couple of the other teams, though, I just think there might be a 12 months off being that genuine sort of force back in the contest. And I do genuinely believe this might be Todd Payton's last year. So I just think I've got to stick with my guns. I'm making those big predictions. I've got to stick with that. And that means I can't see Payton getting sacked if they're a top 8 team again. So I just think they're going to fall quite quickly and there'll be some decisions made by head office to move on and get someone else in. But for the Rabbits, Wayne will get his sprinkle his magic dust. We all know that. I just don't think I think that he's taken on so much here that I actually feel like in a way he's actually taken on too much. And there's always this pressure now for Wayne because every time he goes to a new club, it's longer than it's been since he's won that last comp. And I think it's really getting to him. He really wants that comp. But you look at players like Schuster, you look at players like Dodd to an extent who has had time at Super League last year in their reserve grade competition. You look at Jaden Sullivan. He's giving a lot of these players sort of like a second chance or thinking, all right, I can fix these guys. And I just think it can get to a point where, let's not forget, while you're adding those three, the Rabbits have had 2 years now where they've performed much below par and where they should be. And a lot of their players went off the rails, just not playing anywhere near their potential and was just getting into trouble basically off the field and not doing the right things. So I think there's more than just focusing on those 3 players he's brought in. He's got a lot to do at that club, and I think it will take him a bit of time, but I still feel like he'll be able to do enough to get him to finals. I just don't think this year will be the year where they're a genuine title threat.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I suppose for me, I'll go back to what you were saying about the Cowboys. So they lose Lukey. That's a big loss. I think he missed a fair chunk or a decent chunk last year too. They were able to finish 5th. They've lost Holmes. Yep. They've lost Felt. Yep.
And they've finished Uyaki, who filled into the back row a lot.
And he did, but still only played short amount of minutes there. I think an underrated signing is Bateman going up there. So I think Bateman's going to plug a really nice hole that they really could use. I've got that. I think Dearden is going to be. I just see superstardom over Dearden so much, and I am so keen on Dearden. And it's so funny being a Storm fan, but to talk about a player like this, but everything about Dearden just screams talent and leadership and ability, and I just think he's ready to really explode. And they've still got Drinkwater. Like, he's so underrated. Like on every context of what happens of what he can do in terms of every part of the NRL game. Super coach into even just normal like NRL, like he's just so underrated. I can just see those two really stepping up. There's so much talk around how good Duffy is, and he's going to come in and play that halfback role. And then you've still got Clifford, and Clifford's no spud either. And he's still young too. So I just think I agree with you. I think Peyton's got his head on the block. And I think he's still got his head on the block, even if they finish in the bottom 4 of the top 8. I think the Cowboys are sitting there going, we're putting teams around you. You've got the best advantage in the competition playing up in Townsville. I think his head's still on the line either way. And because I think it's also style of play. Last year, they just had zero defense. And as much as people want to try and argue about it, they really didn't. And it turned up every now and then and all that sort of stuff. But it was just so bad in so many aspects of things. And even in the finals, it showed. I just can't see the Cowboys being that bad, that they're a bottom 3 team. I just can't see it. Even with those losses and what they've had. So I just think that's really harsh. I really find it really hard with the Knights, because we talk about the Knights all the time, man. All the time about how bad they are. And yet they finish 8th, and they do. They just do. And it's that Ponga thing. But it's just shambles at the moment. And there's so many questions still happening and all that sort of stuff. And so as much as people are having to go at us at League of Inches, but I can guarantee that pretty much every podcast that I listen to, and I listen to lots of them, and I listen to a lot of our, everyone's got the Knights down low. So it's not just us. We don't have a hatred for the Knights. But I can also, in why I said the way where they're at. The only other question I've got for you, and I really need you to really talk to me about it, okay, is I need some serious help on picking the Eels to make finals. You both, you had Jake in 7th and you in 8th. I need more than I'm on the SGA group and I like what I'm seeing. I need more than Mitchell Moses missed games last year when we were bad. And I need more than the coach, stuck in his ways and was stubborn. I need more than that to see how they can not be anywhere near the bottom. And yeah, I just need more than that. So you're on the SGA. Talk to me, Joel.
Well, you basically already mentioned 3 points that are really big points, and it's hard. It's easy to go, yeah, you need more than that. But there, when you look into the context of the actual football team and the club, they were all huge and they have massive impact to how clubs run and things like that. Now, Moses is a huge point. If he can stay fit, I genuinely believe he's in for a Dalian season. That's my big prediction for him. I think he'll be huge. He doesn't have Gutho anymore taking points off him when it comes into that, and we'll have that argument, I'm sure, a number of times this year throughout that system is flawed. But at the end of the day, if you don't have as many good players getting points off you, you'll easily poll. I think all eyes will be on Moses. So anytime we either win a game or go close, I think he'll get points and probably get almost top marks every time. I think without the goal kicking, a lot of pressure comes off him in a way, but with the captaincy, he knows he needs to turn up. He knows he needs to make sure he's there every week. And I'm praying his body's right. He's huge. And the other big point there, and you've mentioned it before, and believe he's leaving. But Dylan Brown, I think he's in for a big year because the flow-on effect of Moses being fit is that we get the best version of Dylan Brown. And last year we didn't because of that. He was forced to play a position in first receiver, which he naturally can't do. He was continually pushed there. The coaching one, I don't want to come across like I'm bashing Brad Arthur because I've always said I'm thankful for what he did for the club. We're in a dark spot when he came and he worked his ass off to get us back to being a competitive team, being a team that was consistently in the top 8, which as a Para fan, we couldn't say for about 4 or 5 years there. We were down in the dumps and basically just the laughing stock of the league. So he worked his ass off, and I respect that a lot. But he got very much one-eyed, straight lines. He was always in his lane towards the end. It felt like the young kids could never get a go in there. Didn't feel like there was genuine depth there or genuine competition for spots, and that can affect how the players play. And all off season, everything's been a competition. You've seen some of these young guys really step up. You've seen people like Joash Papali'i just come from the clouds, who was at the Bulldogs, got massive raps. He's there. It's great to see. I just think the club as a whole, there's too many quality players in that team. When you actually peel it back and look at the roster, you got Moses, you got Brown, you got Lomax, Will Penasini. Before probably the back end of last year, everyone was raving about how good and consistent he is as a centre. He takes those hard carries and he never really gets run over, and he always aims up. So that's just really exciting. Depending on what version of Adokar we get, I'm not too sure. Jake mentioned it, that the point about the more mobile forward pack has me excited as well, because I think that's the best way to go. And honestly, I've never seen Junior Polo look so thin before, which, mate, I don't know. It's for mine should be a good thing. It should mean we see a much fitter mobile Polo, which is great. But we'll see. I do completely understand where some people are coming from, and you, Trav, where you don't see the improvement. I can see it. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't see it, but I can also see the fact that the club is improving. Maybe it's 12 months too soon, maybe, but I'll go out there and just say, you know what, for once, follow my heart a little bit more and just say we will get in the top 8, and who knows what happens there. I'd love to beat the Broncos week 1. I know that much.
All I can say is, and I'll echo what you said right at the start of the podcast, is the ladder prediction this year was bloody hard to do. And it's going to look so much different. I think the top 8, is pretty well rock solid. I've got the Dolphins.
Top 6, I reckon.
Yeah. Like I've got the Dolphins in 6th. Yeah. You guys had Dolphins low, but I'm very high on the Dolphins and their talent. And I think a first-year coach is going to make a really big difference. But yeah. I actually think the top 8 is, pretty close for all of us. There'll be 1 or 2 because obviously what I said about the Dolphins. But I think that top 8 is going to be very different. and our ladder predictions are going to be so. I'll put it this way: I'm not going to go and put my money on many spots, and to lock it in because I'm just not confident. I think anything and everything could happen. And doing a ladder prediction this year is just, you set yourself up for failure for sure, which is not something I like doing.
Definitely put ourselves out there again, guys. Ask us questions. Give us your thoughts. We want to know your thoughts. But just remember, everyone has opinions on this great game. This is why I love our game so much. This is why I originally started this page, because I want to know your opinions. Everyone has them. Please give them. Please give them respectfully. That's all we ask for, please. Let's get to questions. Obviously, big thanks to TC Coolers. I'll ask a question on the podcast each and every week. You will go in the running to receive one of those bad boys, either the Supercoach edition or our general League of Inches one. I'll hit up Instagram first, which is always the small one. Instagram followers, you need to get onto this. You need to be more. I think it's because our legends always ask through Facebook because we get double entries, which is understandable. But Instagram followers, make sure you start asking a few questions.
Just hit the 5K on Instagram, my man.
Yeah, we did. Thank you, Instagram followers, as well for that. That's huge for us. And I remember Instagram's been a massive grind to trying to crack it and things like that, but we're getting there. Really do appreciate everyone's sharing, following, tagging, all that sort of stuff, liking, commenting. It's helping us heaps. So really big thank you to everyone out there for the 5K. Ross, Chris, we know you've been directed at me. We know you've been going pretty hard over Howarth and Fogarty, but who this year do you think will take NRL's sexiest man? Well, shout out to Roasty because he officially crowned Farnworth two years in a row now the sexiest man in league. But there's obviously a couple straight to your mind. You think of Farnworth, Carrigan, Reece Walsh is always a big popular one. I think Scotty Sorensen's a bit of a dark horse, a bit of a smoky when it comes to that sort of thing as well. Dylan Brown gets a lot of the ladies going, I feel like, as well. But Trav, what comes to your mind when you think sexiest man in league?
And he's got to be now, doesn't he?
Yes.
I would lock in Joey Manu. That's a good looking rooster. Get what I did there. So to go now, Katoni Staggs. There's someone who flows under the radar. Katoni Staggs a good looking fella.
Okay,
he's a very good looking man.
All right, I'll take that. I can't go past the number one for Roasty's one. Farnworth is an absolute gem. And anytime you get the chance to see him in his budgies is just something else.
Oh, he's a good looking fella, but I don't rate him as the best. Yeah. Anyways, there you go. That's our opinion, eh? We're fighting over how good looking men are.
Yeah, well, let us know in the comments. Let us know. Where now Facebook, Rianne, where do you all personally think the Eels will finish in 2025? Well, we've done our ladder predictions. I've got them 8th. Jake has them 7th, and Trav had them 14th.
Yeah.
Or 15th. 14th.
Changed to slide black, but I think I had him in 14th.
15th. He's been cracked 15th. I'll remove that now as well. We'll go back to us. They've had enough steam in that. So, there you go. That's what we think of the Eels. And I think we've gone into a bit of detail with that one as well. David Goon, if Tommy Turbo is fit all year, would he win the Dally M? In my theory, he does play the whole year. Manly win the comp. All right, there's two parts here. First of all, the Dally M. We're just actually funny. We just spoke about it. I just feel like now Manly will have to share with Turbo will have to share with DCE, maybe Brooks occasionally, but obviously Turbo's the big guy. And he won it playing half a season that year that he did win it. So if he can play the whole season, he's definitely one of the favourites because the voters absolutely love him, rightly so. If he can stay fit, why not? I believe he's right up there. Trav?
100%. Yeah, if he stays fit and plays all year, I think he's locked. He's got the Dally M locked for sure.
Yeah.
He's just a freak. He's just an absolute freak. But the consistency of him being able to play 27 or 24 games, well, we know he's not because he's more than likely going to play Origin. So he's not going to be able to do that. So, yeah, 100%. He's certainly I would lock it in. If I had a crystal ball and could see that he was going to play all year, I would guarantee that he's got the Dalian. My prediction is Cleary. I think that's what I put down on the on our predictions post, which you posted today. But yeah, if he played, but that was because of obviously where I thought people were going to play and not.
Do you think if you can stay healthy for the year, Manly win the comp?
No. They're going to be very good, and they are. I mean, that's why we've got them in the top 6. You had them in the top 4. No, I don't think that list is good enough to win a competition. I still think the Sharks, I still think Penrith, I still think the Bulldogs, and I still think the Storm have a better list. But is that not a great question? Like, is that not a great position that we're sitting in here with 2 weeks before 1 week before TLT Vegas, 2 weeks before the games, and we're saying, if Tommy Turbo plays Manly, who we both have in top 6, are a chance for a finals. Like, isn't that great? Like last year, everyone could pretty clearly see it was Penrith, Storm, Roosters is the top 3, and that was very easy to just go. This year, we're sitting here saying there's legitimately 6 teams that could win it. I don't think Manly can, but I think there's a lot that has to go for them. That Storm has to have a couple of injuries for them to drop them down that next notch. For Manly to be able to step up. I think the Sharks are a better team than Manly across the board. So no.
I'll go a little bit different here. I will say if we're talking hypotheticals and he's going the season fully fit, which means by final time he would be completely flying, almost if not the same sort of form that Wayne that Dalian medal. I think they're right. They definitely can win the comp. I think that would absolutely trouble the likes of Storm and Penrith. Turbo in that form alone. I think that they could be a huge chance of winning this competition. Couple of Supercoach questions already, so make sure, guys, if you listen to this one today on the Wednesday, the Supercoach massive potty is tonight. Make sure you come and quickly get your questions in before the podcast. Mark Brown, a subscriber, so a legend of ours, so I really do appreciate that one. If instead of expanding the game, you could move one team, who would it be and where would you move them?
Ooh, love this question. So I read this. I didn't get a chance to read the questions beforehand, and all of them have been there for a few hours. So, however, I did start reading this just as we opened up this podcast. Love this question. So I've got 2. So I know if it's move one team, but I've got 2 because I just have to do it. I actually feel like, and I'm saying this I feel like this town or this city should have a club, but because the club is such shambles and so rubbish, I kind of want to move them, and that's Gold Coast, and I would move them to New Zealand because there's such a big following in the Gold Coast of Kiwis. There's such a big following of Kiwis in Queensland. So like moving the Gold Coast to New Zealand would be, I think, a no-brainer. I think that would work really well. But honestly, I do feel like the Gold Coast should have a team. But, something needs to change there for my opinion to change. But I would move that. But my one is I would split the West Tigers. And I would move it to New Zealand.
Okay. Either team to New Zealand.
Either team to New Zealand. Yep.
Okay, I don't mind that. You stole mine. Mine was going to be the Titans, as much as it pains me, because as I keep saying, the junior side of league on the Gold Coast is huge, and the comps are great. It'd be a real shame to see it move, but it's just not working. It's time to, and we got a good message on YouTube about that a couple of days ago, and I spoke to the guy a little bit, and he does make a good case about why don't we talk about it more, the fact that it just continues to fail. And we seem to be going about it in a nice way, and it's time to maybe start to get a bit more harsher when it comes to that, and just be like, as much as it probably sucks to hear as a Titan fan, if you're listening or watching to this, it's not working. It hasn't worked. Like, it's just it's got to move, in my opinion. And I love the New Zealand talk. What I would do with the Titans is move them more to that sort of perhaps out towards that central sort of Queenslandy move, and how that Jets bid was coming along. Look at that sort of area and perhaps just move it slightly upwards, inwards, and that might help the game or that identity grow. And I just feel like the Gold Coast just isn't working for whatever reason. I personally probably would choose New Zealand first, but I didn't want to be boring, so I wanted to give another area a bit of a say. Daniel Halston has given us one that we can't do this whole question because we'll be probably half an hour. If each club could sign any one player to make them a contender, who would it be? We can't go through every 17 teams. We might try and work this out to say, obviously for mine, any club would be wanting to sign Nathan Cleary. That would be game changing.
Well, how about we legitimately think 6 teams are contenders, so let's not do them. So let's go the next echelon or the next step underneath of what that sort of 6 teams below would take to win. Do you want to do that? Or 4?
All right,
let
me bring up this back again so we can quickly look at the team so I don't forget anyone. So I'm going to go to mine first because I'm just going to say a majority would say the Dolphins won't be a top 6 team. So let's say the 6 are fine. So 7th, we've got quickly the Rabbitohs. I reckon their big thing is a middle forward at the moment or a halfback. So I've already said Nathan Cleary. I'm going to say Nathan Cleary for every single team in this rest of this comp. But let's not be boring and try and not say Cleary for every single team. But it's obvious for mine, I think Dodd's not the answer for the Rabbitohs early on. So I think they'd be pushing for that. Or a big middle forward like AFB, for instance, would be huge for the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, I think, maybe. I like the Rabbitohs in their pack, so I don't mind that. I don't mind what they have. I don't think they need that. They 100% need a half. They certainly do. Ever since Reynolds has left, that's been a massive, glaring deficiency. Let's just take Cleary off the line because that would be boring because we could literally say that he would move. They would go, and I would say someone like Jerome Hughes would be a big deal for them. I think he would make a big difference. Like Sam Walker would make a massive difference for him. So a half for the Rabbitohs is where I.
What about for the Eels?
So, well, I've got them in the bottom 4. I don't think anyone would make them a contender. I don't think I don't think one player would make them a contender. Sorry, I'm not being harsh, but I just don't think one player would make them a contender. Maybe I have issues around their pack. Hopgood's going to make a big difference. But yeah, their middle forwards, when you're still relying on Lane, then you've got like Kelmer, there's talk of Guymer coming through. He's a rookie. I've got, you got Jackson Paulo still, although I think he's injured, isn't he?
Junior Paulo.
Junior Paulo, sorry, not Jackson. Yeah, Junior Paulo.
I
think someone in the pack would be a big deal.
I'd go James Fisher-Harris just to have someone who's got a lot of respect.
Culture.
Get that forward pack, just bring that no bullshit sort of attitude to the camp, and I think that would be absolutely huge and knocks basically a lot of these players down a few and just be like, we need to get it happening. Roosters, I'll say the Roosters for mine.
Let's go with the fact that Walker is not injured, right? So we know that let's say he's coming back.
I'd say a 5'8". I think that 5'8" to. Actually,
they got Townsend for the Salt, and he's not going to be too bad.
He's not going to do it.
He's not going to be too bad.
Sandon will be the 5'8",
and they're very happy with that.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd probably go maybe a centre because they seem like Nwanga Wingatasi could be a great centre for him moving forward, but we just don't know. Toya's obviously got a lot of raps as a young player, but they're just coming off being used to having Manu. So maybe like a more experienced centre just to have I don't know really with it because they do have quality all over the park, but we're just worried about their depth in that more. So,
So you still got Teddy at 1.
Wishart.
Like
I
your
love a
wings
Wishart
are,
maybe at the Roosters. Wishart playing 5'8".
yeah, he'd make a big deal. He would fit in nicely, and they do love to run, which is what Wishart loves to do. Yeah, that's a good shout out. I like that one. I mean, we think Manu's probably going to come back, so let's not say that they're one player away. And Manu's been there, and they haven't won a comp, so I wouldn't jest on that. I think they've got to find a way to replace Jared Warrior-Hargraves. So I think I would go somewhere big because I think their outside back, like their outsides are awesome. Like their wingers, you've got Tupou and Young. You've got your centers are not too bad. You still got Crichton. You got, let's say, Sam Walker. I don't mind Sandon Smith and the pairing of Sandon Smith and Townsend just to play the role that they've got to play. So yeah, I'd go someone that needs someone big like a James Fisher-Harris or a Nas. A Nas would make a big deal on the Roosters there as just a 30, 40-minute brick wall.
We'll just go we'll go the 10th, 11th. So we'll go Raiders, Dolphins, and Warriors to finish it, and then because I think realistically the others probably need a little bit more help. So the Raiders, what you got for the Raiders? Quite a young team. They've got a lot of exciting prospects that I love to see just come through the grade for the next 12 to 18 months and really build that team. But if we're adding someone to that roster, I feel what comes to your mind, Trav?
So I've got one, and I think it's pretty easy to tell. I've got so let's quickly go through their list. K.O. Weeks is a good fullback. I think he's going to make a big deal. So I wouldn't replace him. I mean, a Turbo on a Raiders list would be huge, or a Ponga on a Raiders list would be massive. But I like Weeks. I like their pack: Horsburgh, Tarpany, Papali'i. And the crew there, I actually like that. I like Fogarty as halfback. I had the potential playing of the 5'8" there, so I think their halves is okay. Something that would make a big deal, and this is an odd thing that I think that would make them a contender, is like a Karaz To'o in the centers for the Raiders would just be enormous. So, yeah.
I'm going in the lock position. I'm going Isaiah Yeo. I think he would be absolutely huge for the Raiders because I don't think they've actually I've had a mental blank on what his name is, the current lock, but and I'm trying to say I don't think he's been great. He hasn't done anything wrong by any means, but I just feel like they're missing a little bit. Dolphins, I think the Dolphins need maybe a bit of experience in the halves. I think Gatol's a gun, just someone in that 5'8" who can probably help steer the ship to
Cam Munster.
Yeah, Munster would be huge. Munster would be the ideal candidate, I think, for the Dolphins. And for the Warriors, again, they've got a lot of good young players. Fish has just got there, so that's huge for them. Maybe Locke, because Locke at the moment, Aaron Clark or Dylan Walker, which I don't know if you can win a comp with that as your lock. So
no, but I would put, and there's chat around Tamari Martin and, what he's been able to do, and Luke Metcalf in the halves. But that's still very unknown. A Munster, obviously a Cleary, a Hughes, it would be enormous. A Dearden even would be huge for that Warriors team in their halves. Would definitely turn them into a finals bound somewhat contender.
Yeah, it's boring, but again, I'll probably say either probably a Yo again for that lock position, or Cameron Murray. I could see him going over to the Warriors, just playing a couple of years of really that bash sort of style and just toughening him up in that middle, and him with Barnett and Fisher-Harris, that would be huge. But again, we'll go through all of them, but it would take way too long. But thank you for the question there, Daniel. That might be a content thing. I might come up with a post or something around that. That's a good idea there. Mitch Ballesty. And by the way, guys, we've got Jake coming back very shortly. I do believe he's finished his draft, so we'll get an update from him at the end of this podcast. Mitch, who will be the first coach sacked in 2025? Coach under the most pressure. Well, that'd be the same answer for both. I think we are both very keen to say Adam O'Brien. He will be the first coach sacked of 2025.
Yeah, it's an easy one for me.
Yeah. Last one from Damo. Who's the biggest dark horse of 2025?
So as in to win?
I think maybe just in general, yeah, obviously to win the comp, but I think it's a hard one because they both said it feels like the Storm and the Panthers are a class above still, unfortunately. But Sharks and Manly are probably sniffing behind, and you've got the Dogs up there as well, and maybe the Broncos. But who you got as your dark horse?
I don't think anyone can win it other than the Storm, Penrith, and the Sharks. So it's a hard one to say. I think my dark horse for being, even making top 4 is the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But I just can't see, and I'd be happily wrong. Well, I wouldn't be, because that would mean the Storm don't win it and aren't competitive. But I would be, as an NRL fan, happily wrong if one of those of the Storm, Panthers, and Sharks aren't there. Which would make the season very interesting. I just can't see anyone. It's a really hard one to pick a dark horse because I just can't see anyone beating those 3 teams at all. Yeah.
I'll go a bit different here. I'm going to go dark horse, the opposite side of the table, and that's the Cowboys. I think they will struggle this year and unfortunately finish quite low and a bottom 4 finish. Before we go, let's bring him back. He has been waiting. He's been very patient. He's exhausted. It's been post-draft. Jake, hopefully your internet's better now. It can't do 2 things at once.
It should be okay now.
Talk to us. How did your draft go?
I'm pretty happy with it. I did make one boo-boo right towards the end. I already had time. I'll go through it and then I'll explain. So I've got Connor Watson in hooker. In my front row, I've got Jai Arrow and Joe Ofahengaue. My second rows are Cam McInnes, Ruben Cotter, and Sean Bloor. My halfback is Cody Walker, with my 5'8" being Dill Brown, which I got in the second round pick. I was very happy with that. Wings centers, I've got Leai Hopawate, Connor Tracy, Tuivasa-Sheck, and Sifa Talakai. And in fullback, I've got Dylan Edwards. On my bench, I've got Jai Arrow, who supposedly is going to be good for round 1, Tyron Wishart, Cody Nikorima, and Dean Mariner. My big mistake, it's not necessarily a mistake, but I already had Tyron Wishart on my bench because I think he's going to play 14 for the Storm, and I think he'll get plenty of minutes anyway. I know it's a bit, but I brought in Nikorima thinking I needed a 5'8", and then I didn't need a 5'8" because I had Tyron Wishart on my bench. So I've got a little bit I've got a bit of an early issue there, but at the same time, most of my team is Julie's, so I might not need to make that if I can kind of shuffle. I might be able to shuffle these around if I need to.
Let me know your back rolls again. I zoned out somehow. I don't know.
Cam McInnes, Ruben Cotter, Sean Bloor, but I've also got Joe Ofahengaue who can play second row. I also have Jai Arrow who can play second row.
You said Jai Arrow twice, I think. You said him to start and then on the bench.
I shouldn't have. It should be Cam McInnes, Ruben Cotter, Sean Bloor, then Jai Arrow's on the bench. They're my players. And then Joe Ofahengaue in front row, but again, he's a Julie, so you can play second row.
Who's the other front rower?
Xavier Willison.
Oh, starting.
Well, actually, Jai Arrow will probably start. I haven't optimized it or anything, but
not bad. That's your first draft, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well done. I don't mind it.
Thanks, mate.
I don't mind it.
Well, it's interesting. I'll see how it goes.
And you were pick 6. Pick 6.
7. No, I was 7.
Oh, 7.
My first pick, I was sitting there, and Ponga was still sitting there. He was the 6th pick. He was sitting there, and I'm like, please. And then Dylan Edwards. But that's okay. I'm happy with it. I am happy with that. I'm pretty confident in my squad.
I believe Trav have only got 2 more League of Inches drafts to go now. So I think it's...
Yeah, Div 4, Div 5.
4 and 5. That's a
1, 2, 3 down.
Yeah, good.
A couple of big nights coming up, I think. They're only a couple of nights away for both of those. So everything gets done before TLT Vegas, which is great. And then, so...
I think it's Sunday, Monday.
Perfect. We'll have the content out for everyone to see. the round one picks. But that's it for us. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Hope you, whether you agree or not, please give us your feedback. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know why we got it so wrong or why we got it so right. I'd like to see a few going, yeah, you know what, you're right about that. We don't get those often. So it's always the ones that want to come in and give it to us. So bring it on. Love it. Love this episode. It's out of the way. Again, live show next week, guys. Cannot wait for it. 8 p.m. Queensland time, 9 p.m. New South Wales time. Make sure you're following and subscribing to either Facebook, YouTube, or both, so you can get the notification before we do go live. Sit there, be involved with the show. The more people that get involved with the show, the bigger and better the show is. And we will see you all then. Good night. Good day. See you all for the Supercoach podcast, whatever it is. Good night.